Non-existent relativity in the next scene. The base physical truth used by Albert Einstein to build the theories of relativity is the uniform velocity of reference frames has no influence onto any working inside any frame. Therefore, each working inside a moving frame is the same as is in our physical world. Thus, any equipment utilizing light must not change its speed when it is replaced in another inertial frame. Its frequency is independent from speed of a reference frame. Even a light clock in the form of light traveling up and down between two mirrors works in any frame by the same working speed as a light clock in our world. Therefore, nobody may speculate about changed frequency of any clock when is moving by other velocity. If any inertial frame must not change the frequency, neither does the half-Elkating clock, atomic clock. The not changed speed of light, the second postulate, led Einstein to think about changed units expressing speed, although science defines the speed of electromagnetic radiation to be its frequency times wavelength, and its frequency and wavelength have practical use even in measuring speed of moving vehicles. A cop's radar gun measures the Doppler shift using electromagnetic rays. Not having frequency and wavelength in the theory about light makes Einstein's relativity too poor to be a scientific theory, especially today when many theorists say, what we observe are waves. It is even in contra to police, so is contra to the law because they work with changed wavelengths and frequencies of light when the speed of light is kept even when its source, a gun in the moving police car or an observer, a vehicle's reflecting die, moves, or both the radar gun and mirroring vehicle move. Hence, this Einstein's approach should get the ticket from the police. Anyway, light traveling from a source to an observer when they have not the same reference frame speed led Einstein to think about change rate for time and length to keep the same speed for light. The relativity calls this ratio the transformation quotient. Followers of Einstein show a time clock where length inside is equal to a distance between mirrors that prolongs during motion if is viewed from outside. This poor view is the relativity approach to length and time because a light travels in span. The atomic clock today used as the standard for measuring our time ticks so quickly that one tick is equal to the span 33 millimeters. If a light clock has the distance 33 millimeters between two mirrors, then a photon travels 10 meters during 306 ticks. These 306 ticks are for both frames, the standing and moving frame. Let's have a moving frame where this clock operates and also a source of light, a lamp and an observer are there. This frame whether a rocket will move parallel always in the same direction as Lorentz proposed it creating the formula to calculate the quotient known as the gamma factor. Positions are marked by changes on the x-coordinate. Thus y and z coordinates are constant. Then we have an observer somewhere on the x-axis, who observes what is going on. The rocket moves by the speed 0.25 c. It starts from the point being in the distance 10 meter from the observer as is pictured. These 10 meters gives 10.3 meters, when are calculated according to a view at light clock from outside. 10.3 is the number that none measures. They are products of human logic, whether a calculator. A person inside the frame has 306 ticks always for 33 millimeters and therefore must record 10 meters. Our observer from outside measures 10 meters only if a source of light does not change its position on the x-coordinate. However, a light signal of 10 meters arrived to him when a rocket replaced for 2.5 meters, and so is 9 meters far from him. Also the observer in the rocket has the distance 10 meters. He may have 9 meters when takes in consideration different speeds of frames. But Einstein with the Lorentz help sees 10.7 meters because uses the factor 1.07 to recalculate these 10. At the speed 0.5 c, our observer has the rock 8.7 meters just above him. However at this time, a light signal of 10 meters arrived to him from the rocket's position 0. Since he knows the speed of the rocket, he calculates 8.7 meters by using the Pythagorean theorem. This is the right mathematical approach to this situation. The correlation factor is 0.87. Lorenz's anti-mathematics is contra to it what we see at our scene. Still, he and his followers want us to accept 1.15, what is reciprocal to what everyone in our world must see. 0.87. The light clock inside the rock seems to have the distance between mirrors 36 millimeters. It makes 1.12. This light clock quotient follows only the Einstein postulates and therefore does not agree with Lorenz's addition. Lorentz fabricated the motion of an inertial frame to have influence onto Einstein physics about light and relativity. Einstein's suggestion is that the observer has a different time frame relative to the source of light, and this would cause him to view at light having the same speed. For the example, when an observer were moving away at half the speed of light, then to observe a light from the source at the same speed, his time needs to be half that of the source's. Thus, the quotient is 2 to compare its time standard to the time standard of the frame where the source produces light rays. Certainly, we found this quotient by help of the speed of the frame, but this quotient must be just to compare time rates to have the same speed of light for both frames. Therefore we compare distances taken by a light, we compare distances on a line for a traveling photon. Different uniform velocities of the frames are just the reason for the Einstein suggestion. Therefore at looking at a light clock, followers of Einstein compare two sides of the right triangle, 36 and 33, and there is not the third equal now 0.25 times 33 equals 8.2. So have the quotient 2 for our example on the line. But followers of Lorentz have the universal factor comparing all three sides, 2 of traveling light and 1 of replaced frame. So have the quotient 1.15 even for our example on the line. Thus, the scene shows that Lorentz's contribution is just uprooting Einstein's suggestion to have different time rates because light. The speed 0.75 c causes a light coming from the point 4 traveling 9 meters to the observer. We get the quotient 0.9 to transform time and length from the incoming rocket signal from that point. So it is the same as for the speed 0.25 c. However, Lorentz's spelling is for 1.5. At the light clock, an apparent distance is 41 millimeters, although is used from inside to be 33 millimeters. The quotient for transformation is their ratio, so is 1.25. The conclusion that the rocket's maximum speed is, we get the same length as in the start, and therefore there does not exist any relativity, any Einstein's relativity, neither exists a ratio whether quotient for transformation lengths and times. However, Lorentz goes with the gamma factor to extreme value, now is 7. A light clock viewed at the speed matches 46 millimeter distance. Notice, if half-L Keating experiment would have run on this rocket, then their clock showed time having its rate according to light clock theory 1.41 times slower than on the ground. However, the Einstein-Lorentz theory says time runs over 7 times slower there than on the ground. Let's assume the speed 0.25 from the position 0 gives the quotient always less than 1, what is not in accordance with the theory. The gamma factor must always be over 1 to have time running slower in a moving frame. When a light signal from the rocket moving by the speed 0.5 c arrives to the observer, the rocket is above him and so is the right triangle calculating known as the Pythagorean theorem. Now we are close to the theory because the formula for Lorentz's time dilation is also the Pythagoras's. When the speed 0.75 c is on the scene, there is hard to calculate a quotient since the trigonometry does not give any simple formula to calculate sides of this triangle. Neither is valid the Lorentz transform because this formula for time dilation represents according to science the right triangle theorem. When the speed 0.99 c is on the scene, the rocket's signal long 10 meters arrives to the observer when the rocket is in the same distance but at departing from him in relation to the x-axis. At this point, nobody may say an astronaut lives longer than we are on the ground. You could observe that the theory proposed by Einstein is not such as he and Lorentz say. Now is about you whether you will follow the reality projected in this animation or Einstein's suggestion and Lorentz's anti-mathematics. Do you want to know more? Read the chapter, Relativity versus Reality, in the book Physical Model versus Standard Model.